Commissioner, you ready?
Yes, let's proceed.
For Charm TV, we're about to begin. May I begin, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you may.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's Thursday, December 1st, 2022 hearings. Excuse me. There have been a series of matters that have been postponed, and I will announce them as we go through. Shall I move forward, Mr. Chair, or do you have any opening comments?
No, please, let's go.
Item number one on today's, or beginning with the violations docket, item number one has been postponed and will be held at a later hearing of the board. Item number two of the docket has been postponed and will be heard at a later hearing of the board. Bringing us to item number three, City Line Bar and Grill, 6506 to 10 Belair Road. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license charged with a violation of one of the board's rules, a violation of Rule 414A, live entertainment without authorization, stemming from one incident on July 14th, 2022, and Chief Chris Amalis will be speaking for the agency. Is the licensee here?
Come on up, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, Chief.
Everybody's going to swear.
Good morning. What's your name, sir?
Chris.
Chris Shefford. Okay. Would you both raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Okay. So good morning, Mr. Shefford. You're charged with one violation on July 14 having to do with the having loud music and whatever. You may admit it or you may deny it, and we'll proceed.
That's denied because, I wasn't aware of what we were disturbing everybody.
Okay. So, Chief, why don't you go ahead and tell us what the report says?
Good morning. This report was written by Inspector Robinson. On July 14th at approximately 10:45, Inspector Robinson responded to the location for a complaint that came in through the 311. Complaint number 22-005-49848. The complaint was received at 10:19 for loud music and karaoke on the outside of the premises in the outdoor area. Once the inspector arrived, he called me and told me that there is karaoke and there is music outside. After speaking with the owner was under the impression that he can have live entertainment outside because he does have it on his license for inside. He was unaware that he cannot have it outside, in the outside location.
Yeah, but it's under my license says on the whole entire premises. So why would it be inside to outside be any different?
Well, apparently it is different. And do you want to explain it to him, Mr. Blendy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So your premises is the area which is inside the building related to where your business operates, and what you have additionally is outdoor table service, which allows you to have outdoor seating, but that's a cafe service. You don't have alcohol set up there. You carry the alcohol out there. That is not inside your premises for the purposes of live entertainment. Generally speaking, live entertainment is not a thing that the zoning code of Baltimore City permits. So it is understandably complicated, but legally speaking, your live entertainment may only be within the area that is your premises, which is inside.
No entertainment to be outside at all.
No live entertainment. Yeah, correct. No live entertainments. What is defined as live entertainment is another thing, but we don't have to keep the board here all day for that.
I was unaware of that situation, so I guess from here out, we're good from there.
Okay, so you understand. Was it merely a misunderstanding?
It was a misunderstanding. The inspector did tell me that he was very cooperative, that he honestly didn't know that he can't have it outside. So,
Okay. All right. Commissioners have any questions?
No.
No questions.
All right. So, Mr. Shefford, on the basis of the materials contained in the violation notice and the charging, as well as the testimony received today, I do find there was a violation of Rule 4.14A, live entertainment without authorization, on July 14, 2022. You have no history of violations, and this is clearly a misunderstanding. So I would impose a nominal fine of $100 and hope that we don't see you again. Commissioners?
I concur with the findings, and also agree with the $100 fine.
Based upon the charging document, the testimony, and the admission, clearly agree with the chairman. It was a misunderstanding, something you weren't aware of. I find a violation of Rule 4.14A on July 14th, 2022, and concur with the imposition of a $100 fine.
You'll have 30 days to pay that. Thank you, both.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee, sir.
And I'd like to call exhibits before we get.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Russell, go ahead,
I call exhibits for the record.
please.
Board Exhibit number 1, investigation report, Inspector Robinson. Board Exhibit number 2, service request summary report.
Thank you.
My apologies for jumping the gun. That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee has received instructions on how to pay the fine that was imposed by the board and any attendant ancillary costs that are contingent with the fine. Shall we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Yes, let's do that.
The next matter on the violations docket has been postponed and will be scheduled at a later date or later hearing of the board. Moving on to the regular items on today's docket. Item number 1, Grafted Partnership LLC, trading as trade name pending. Proposed premises are 1340 E Smith Avenue. This is an amended application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 1605 Sulgrave Avenue to 1340 E Smith Avenue.
Morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, Commissioners. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant, Stephen Jacob Grenke, who is standing to my right.
Morning, Mr. Granke. Is he going to testify or are you going to proffer?
It'd be great if we just swear him in just in case.
All right, would you raise your right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm here today with Stephen Jacob Grenke. He's a young man. He's, what's my math? We had 29? 28, wow. All right, so I consider him pretty young.
And you can imagine how I feel.
That said, he has tremendous experience in serving alcohol, in managing an alcoholic beverages establishment compared to many. He was a fine dining server at the Capital City Club in Columbia, South Carolina. And he, for the last 4 years, has been a manager, wine buyer, and sommelier at the Wine Source at 3601 Elm Avenue, selling fine wine, beer, spirits, and specialty foods, and saw an opportunity after the Wine Works closed at 1605 Sulgrave Avenue to acquire the license and bring it to 1340 E Smith Avenue. Unfortunately, the Wine Works license perished as a result of back taxes, and so the original intent was to do that. So I'd like to have a little tasting bar. He has an extensive knowledge and training and education in wine, so the establishment will be very much vino-centric, and it'll continue to be an excellent place for the customers of Mount Washington to get fine wines and spirits. He is indeed, as you can see from the exhibits, alcohol management certified. He will see to it that all of his employees are also alcohol management certified. He understands from his work at the Wine Source just how important it is to be cognizant and to be obedient of the rules and regulations of the BLLC. So if you have any questions, this would be...
I have a question for you. So this is an amended application, right, Mr. Fogelman?
Yes, it is.
And what's the amendment?
Yeah, the amendment was there was no license to transfer at
That's what-
1340 East Smith Avenue. We filed it and got a call from Mr. Ramsey saying, I have bad news for you, but there is no license to be transferred. So it hadn't been renewed since 2019, so hence the amendment.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
None?
No questions.
And about how many people do you intend to employ, Mr. Groneke?
At the beginning, it's just going to be me and my fiance, and my mom is going to help out as well. But I'd say probably 3 people eventually.
Okay.
I actually have one question, just to make a point of clarification. This is also not only a transfer of license, a transfer of location. Can you speak, it appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that the locations are somewhat near, somewhat within proximity of each other. But can you speak, since it is a transfer of location, can you speak to any engagement with the community, assuming it's a different community?
Well, so we're transferring it from the current license from where it is now to an area that already had a store previously. That
I
was where
see.
the Wine Works
Okay.
was. So there is a store that's been there for 20 years and already had a relationship with the community, and that was the license that had expired.
Gotcha, I understand. So it's sort of one of the reverse of what we typically see, Mr. Fogelman.
Exactly. And also in this case, Hemmelrich Properties, who is the landlord, they've notified the other stakeholders in the area that this will
Okay.
be revived as an establishment that sells beer,
And
wine.
it was a firehouse?
A firehouse?
And the zoning thing says for the use of,
Originally, it was an engine house, so it's located in an old historic mill, and it's actually a really beautiful brick building that originally housed the
Oh.
engine house, and there's a smokestack and stuff. It's
different kind of engine?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything further?
Nothing.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the proffer from council and testimony received, I vote to approve the amended application to transfer ownership and location of this Class BD7 beer, wine, liquor license presently located at 1605 Sulgrave Avenue to 1340E Smith Avenue. Commissioners?
Based on the application filed and the proffer and statement given by the owner, I too also approve the amended application to transfer ownership and location to a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 1605 Sulgrave Avenue to 1340 East Smith Avenue.
Yeah, based upon the amended application that was filed, the proffer from council, the testimony, and the exhibits received, I too would approve this amended application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 license presently located at 1605 Sulgrave Avenue to 1340E Smith Avenue.
Ms. Russell?
I'd call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, alcohol awareness certification. Board Exhibit 2, floor plan.
Thank you. Good luck, Mr. Greinke.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Counsel for applicant has received instructions on how to legally complete the transfer that was preliminarily approved by the board today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. Shall we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Item number 2 on the regular items has been postponed and will be heard at a later date or later hearing of the board. Moving us to item number 3 of the regular items, Anonymous Ventures LLC, trading as The Anonymous. Premises are located at 1225 Cathedral Street. This is an application to transfer ownership with the continuation of live entertainment and outdoor table service, a request for off-premises catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages of a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license.
Is anybody here for this matter? Please come forward.
Mr. Hurdle, your attorney?
Yes, he is.
Well, then we need him.
I know.
Go wake him up, please. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Hurdle.
No, my apologies. I was out in the hallway on a different matter. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Let's proceed. Want to identify yourself for the record?
Abraham Hurdle on behalf of 1225 Cathedral Street, trading as The Anonymous.
And to your right is?
My client, Miss the licensee, and I do apologize if I get the name.
Raisa Machankwe.
Ma'am, would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Reporter, need her to spell, or do you have her name?
I have a copy of the,
I do have, it's on the agenda.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Hurdle, do you want to proffer?
absolutely. First, I do have a letter of support, and I do believe it contains a copy of the MOU.
Is that from the Mount
came in
Vernon
kinda
Belvedere
late.
Association?
Correct.
We have it. Because Ms. Russell is very efficient.
She is. I'm not sure if you gentlemen are familiar with the space. This is the old Red Emma's or Red Emma's. At one point, it was, I believe, an oyster place before then. This is on the corner of Cathedral Street, I believe, Biddle. Beautiful build-out that's been there. They've had some rotation with tenants, given, I think, COVID and just other issues. Miss Batch has gone in there and taken the existing very nice build-out and to genuinely my surprise, has improved it. The place is gorgeous.
Is this where the City Cafe was?
No, City Cafe is 2 blocks down.
Oh, okay, all right.
Sorry, yes. I actually think this space is, frankly, nicer. Not to disparage anybody, but it's a beautiful space, very open, right across from the Symphony Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And again, it's had significant renovations over the last 10 or 15 years, and it's had a couple different tenants. Miss Batch, as I address her, has a couple years of experience in the industry. Her team that's helping her has about 12 years combined as well. And they're planning to run a high-end restaurant with a rotating menu. And after some discussion with the community, at some point in the near future, operate a significant brunch operation as well. The space has 2 floors, as well as both a glassed-in patio and an open patio. And I think the MOU focuses significantly on kind of outdoor speakers and noise and just making sure we're keeping control of those things of that nature.
And is she willing to have the terms of the MOU being part of her license?
Absolutely, and we're thrilled to have the community on board in this situation. We worked diligently with them. They came by and viewed the space. There's a parking garage across the street, which makes parking, shouldn't be much of an issue. And one of the things I like about this location is it's not kind of buried in Mount Vernon, but like just on one of the edges, so it works out very nicely in terms of there shouldn't be people kind of flooding out onto Charles Street in that regard.
Will those who handle alcohol be certified?
Absolutely, and I think most of her staff has already taken the alcohol awareness class with Mr. Philippidis, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And are you going to operate a bookstore as well, or is that what was there?
That's what was there.
Okay.
And you've got most of your permits already, right? Mr. Catelli with the
Yes.
short shorts has been helping out?
Yes. Yes, he has.
He's not even wearing pants in this weather?
Still rides a bicycle too in this weather. It's crazy.
Tricycle, isn't it?
Sometimes it is, yes. If this was approved today, I think the one thing else was their health inspection, was that correct? There was an
Yes.
issue with the health inspection, should be addressed this week.
Yes, well, the health inspection is on this issue, so it's going to be addressed. Fire is currently going on, so yes.
If the board approved you today, though, you would be probably operational in the next 10 days? Does
Yes.
that sound about right?
Yes,
Yeah. The build-out's complete?
yes, it's complete.
Excellent.
Okay, anything further, Mr. Hurdle?
No, not at this time.
Commissioners?
None.
Well, since you're here, Ms. Batch, and you might be opening in the next 10 days, tell us about your restaurant in 30 seconds.
Of course, I'm so happy to. So it's going to be a fine dining restaurant, like Mr. Abraham mentioned. We are trying to bring back the space to life, given that originally it was a jazz club owned by a Black woman. So we're just trying to bring back in that history and provide like a high-end fine dining experience. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with like African food, but we're trying to make it an Afro-fusion, mixing some Western dishes, you know, with a little bit of African spice to it. We want it to be very pretty, very high-end, welcoming the community, and also provide jobs for youths in the community.
Could you serve anything that my friend here will eat?
Yeah,
He has a very specific diet.
yeah. If there's a Harvey dish, I think well, you might get Commissioner
It's
Johnson.
my mother's fault, it's not mine.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Commissioners have any other questions?
None.
No, nothing other.
Okay. Mr. Hurdle, anything else?
No, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the proffer from council and testimony received, as well as the exhibit, which is the letter of support from the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association and the memorandum of understanding that has been executed between the licensee applicant and the community association. I vote to approve this application to transfer ownership of this Class B beer, wine, and liquor license with continued live entertainment, outdoor table service, off-premises catering, delivery of alcoholic beverages, all subject to the terms of the MOU to the extent they're enforceable by law. Commissioners?
Based on the application filed and profit given, as well as statement given, letter of support from Jack Dana, who's the president of the MVBA. I too approve the application to transfer ownership with continuation of live entertainment and outdoor table service, requesting off-premise catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Based upon the application, the testimony, and the proffer, along with the exhibits, specifically including the letter of support from the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association, included with the memorandum of understanding between said association and the applicant, which she has agreed to on the record. I, too, would approve this application to transfer ownership with continuation of live entertainment and outdoor table service, requesting off-premise catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages. And attached to it is the MOU to the extent the MOU is enforceable by law.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Jones, did you wish for the MOU to be attached to the license?
Yes, the MOU must be attached to the license.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board
Please.
Exhibit 1, letter of support, an MOU between applicants and Mount Vernon Belvedere Association dated 11/16/22.
Thank you, and good luck.
Good
Ms.
Thank you.
Bachuanque.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicant and counsel received instructions from this agency on how to legally complete the transfer of ownership that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. Shall I move forward, Mr. Chair?
Please.
Item number 4 on today's regular docket has been postponed and will be heard at a later hearing of the board, bringing us to item number 5 on the regular docket, which is MLJ Incorporated, trading as trade name pending. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and an application to transfer the location of said license, presently located at 1117 to 19 West 36th Street, to 4001 Falls Road, rear unit, requesting outdoor table service and off-premises catering.
Good morning. You, Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Are you represented?
Mr. Fogelman.
Where is Mr. Fogelman?
What's going on today?
See if
They
we can
doing
wake 'em up.
something out in the hall that I should be aware of?
Is the first case offering wine?
All right. Go ahead, please.
All right, Stephen W. Fogelman, applicant Wayne Lang.
Okay, and who's here on this case?
Councilwoman Ramos, and I have some residents here.
Okay, let's get everybody up here so you can be sworn in, please.
If anyone wishes to testify on this case, please come up to the front and be sworn.
Would all but Mr. Fogelman raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, let's start. Mr. Fogelman?
Yes, thank you very much, Your Honor. Wayne Lang is no stranger to the community. I'd prefer at this point to have him testify, if that's okay?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Lang, you're the applicant in this matter, right?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Fogelman, can you have your client come to the microphone and speak?
Absolutely. Yes.
Anyone who's going to testify has to come to the
We're
microphone.
on television, so we have to pick up all the recording.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Lang, tell us first of all, your current experience with an alcoholic beverage license.
Well, I've had an alcoholic beverage license for the last 24 years. Started with retail and subsequently 2 restaurants over that course of time. My previous experience is past 13 years operating 13.5 Wine Bar in Hamden.
All right, and prior to that, you served as general manager at 13.5 in Silo Point.
Correct.
From 2012 to 2015?
Yes.
And that was at 1200 Stewart Street?
Correct.
All right, and during that time that you were the general manager, there were no violations at all with respect to that location?
That is correct.
All right. And you also worked for 9 years at Wine Underground at 4400 Evans Chapel Road.
That is
Isn't that
correct.
right?
That is correct.
And in fact, you were on the license there?
Yes.
And you had no violations in those 9 years?
Correct.
Okay. And then you've just mentioned that 2009 to present, you've been operating on the license at 1117 West 36th Street.
That is correct.
Again, with no violations during that period of time.
Correct.
All right. And so, all told, that's 24 years.
And,
as you mentioned.
you have in operation an MOU with the Community Association, is that correct?
That is correct.
since 2015 or 16?
No.
Well, we'll,
Sorry, you're not testifying yet, but
all right, so we'll jump to that, get to the chase. All right, so, Mr. Lang, you had extensive discussions with both the Hamden Community Council and the Hamden Village Merchants Association.
that isn't my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was there an existing MOU from 2015 or 16 was my question.
No.
Oh, but then we have the wrong information. I thought there was. Okay, thank you. So I stand corrected.
All right, with respect to negotiations and discussions of an MOU in this matter, you had extensive communications with the HCC and the HVMA, isn't that right?
Yes.
You met on how many occasions?
5 separate occasions. 2 in person and 3 via the telecommunication.
And then tell the board.
Was there Mr. Ockheimer involved?
I'm sorry?
Was there Mr. Ockheimer involved in this? No, he's shaking his head no. Okay, we have a community liaison person who often works with those. Okay.
All right, and in fact, Mr. Lang, you told me the story that you were in Europe meeting at 2 a.m.
Correct.
European Standard Time.
Yes. My daughter and significant other live in Europe, and I'm there from time to time. And in both teleconferences, it's 6 hours time difference. So I was up at 1 o'clock starting until 9 here. 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. local time there, which was 7 o'clock here on the telecommunications. So I've been more than available to the community and all of the protocols that were necessary and so forth.
So tell us a little bit about the plan for this new location.
So it is tableside cooking with a focus on protein, i.e. Steak, shrimp, etc., and 50 wines by the glass. So it's just a straightforward restaurant.
Okay, and the premises where it's going to be is what?
There are a group of garages that I will be renovating and turning some of them into private rooms, and then the remainder would be the seating for the bar and the restaurant itself.
And are the documents we have here, Mr. Fogelman, the build-out projections?
Yes, thank you, totaling $400,000. Mr. Lang, you want to just give a brief rundown of that?
Sure. I mean, the garages are kind of dilapidated, so they're going to need major renovation and obviously improvement. So it's multi-phase. For the separate rooms, I'm going to need exhaust. You can see photographs of what the finished product will be as far as new doors, new glass doors, HVAC, carpentry, furniture and fixtures, etc.
And Mr. Lang, although not required to make capital investment given this type of license, nor do you have any food requirements, tell me what you believe your food to alcohol ratio will be.
Well, being that I am doing tableside service with steak, I believe it's going to be about 50%.
And you told me that you're going to have 50 wines by the glass
That is
available.
correct.
Okay. So,
And again, everybody will be certified?
yes, absolutely. And Mr. Lang, as you can see from the exhibits in front of the commissioners and the chairman, you're alcohol certified.
That's correct, and I've been a sommelier for the last 20 years. So I pretty much was the wine buyer. I taste about 100 wines per week, et cetera.
All right, and Mr. Lang, let's get to the elephant in the room. You thought that a karaoke concept would be welcomed by the neighborhood, right?
That correct. That was the original concept. Initially we had 2 concepts there for the plan for the location. One was a karaoke. We thought the garages would make a perfect isolated area of karaoke, which is not available in Baltimore City, and is very popular in nationally and obviously in Europe. And through my travels, I found this location because of the uniqueness of the space, the private rooms or the individual garages. I thought would be a perfect fit for karaoke.
Right, and in fact, they're popular, these private rooms are popular, so families or private groups can get together and do this, and people don't have to karaoke in front of complete strangers.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Is there a live entertainment application before us?
No, and then I'll wrap it up on
Okay.
this. So nevertheless, there's one in Baltimore County, right, even?
Yes.
Yeah, so, all right, nevertheless, zoning denied you those live entertainment privileges.
That is correct.
All right, so you understand that you're not requesting live entertainment today, nor will you ever have live entertainment without any further order by the city. All right, now, you did enter into a memorandum of understanding with HCC and HVMA on October 2021, is that right?
That is correct, yes.
All right, now, in that MOU, we won't even discuss the live entertainment issues in that MOU, but significantly, you agreed that you will be closed on Mondays, that you, excluding private events, that you would close Tuesdays through Thursdays at 12 a.m., that you would close Fridays and Saturdays at 1:30 a.m., and that you would close at 6 p.m. on Sundays.
Correct.
Furthermore, you agreed that every day of the week you wouldn't be open until 10 a.m. at least,
Yes,
right?
that is correct.
Furthermore, you agreed not to serve alcohol to patrons who are visibly intoxicated, to obey all of the rules and regulations of the Baltimore City Liquor Board.
Yes.
You also agreed to keep all audio, not live entertainment, all audio, at a normal and customary levels, did you not?
Yes.
You also agreed to keep doors and windows closed, right?
That is correct.
You agreed to regularly monitor the area
Yes.
and consider hiring security if necessary.
Yes.
You also agreed that there would never be any third-party promoters, right?
Yes.
And now you have something unusual. You have parking, don't you?
Yes.
You have 17 spots.
That's correct.
Okay. And that will allow you to have spots for customers without taking the neighbor's parking, right? Furthermore, you agreed that you'll have a dedicated employee monitoring the parking lots on Friday and Saturdays and special events,
Yes.
right? Do you intend to honor those promises you made in that MOU?
I do.
Okay. And
So is this a document I'm looking at here?
that is, I believe it
And
is.
so the signatories are a Puckersdorf LLC?
Go ahead.
That is correct. Initially, I was starting the LLC. It was a new corporation. And then I was subsequently advised that in order to transfer the license, I need to keep it under the same MLJ Incorporated,
Which is also your company.
which is also, both are
Right.
and running.
So
So is
even
this
though-
your signature on that?
That is correct.
So even though you signed it under an LLC that's not on the license, you personally here today are saying that you're going to honor those commitments.
That is correct.
Including, in fact, having them placed on the license as license restriction in the absence of a memorandum of understanding.
Yes.
Okay. And you live in this community, isn't that right?
Yes, from the location, I live about 5 minutes.
And how long have you lived here?
25 years.
All right, and you desperately want to make sure that there's no disturbances to your community from this operation, right?
Again, I look at my history and my record. 4 blocks down the street, I've never had an incident. Police have never been called there. I've never had a violation.
You're not going to serve Dollar Natty Bows?
We're not, that's not our focus. If you look at the rendering, I mean, the average glass of wine is probably right now about $15 per glass.
Is it a big pour?
No.
Okay.
You won't get Harvey.
It's a standard 6 ounces.
So, and in fact, you are zoned commercially C2, isn't that right?
The location is correct.
And you are permitted for a BD7 at that location?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything further?
Just very briefly, let me run through the file. And, what changes, you've provided what I believe to be beautiful renderings. What changes, if any, based on the denial of live entertainment, what's going to change here?
Nothing. We prepared it for a restaurant. The live entertainment component was an additional focus that we felt as though it needed, as far as a hook, because it's semi-isolated. It's not facing Falls Road, it's kind of on the side. But our intention is to move forward with the construct.
I
the
think
way
there
it
was
is.
one neon sign that said karaoke or something.
That is correct. Obviously, that's been removed
right.
subsequently from the
Sure.
the drawing. Yes.
Sure, all right. Anything else you'd like to tell the commission about your
No.
project?
Okay.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Councilwoman, do you want to testify? Please, come on up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, I'm Odette Ramos, Councilwoman for the District 14, in which this is located. I have a couple of neighbors with me that are in the area. We stand opposed to this license, just as we were opposed to the live entertainment. I just want to make a couple of notes here. As you'll hear from the residents about the concerns around parking, and also about the fact that, you know, it's a very, very tight neighborhood. This is right across the street from several houses, and also backs up to other houses. And then, of course, it's in the back of that building. So the front of that building that goes onto Falls Road is actually a liquor store. So folks would have to walk in the back on the side and go in and out. And we're very, worried about, the traffic in and out, et cetera. And so the neighbors will talk about that. I want to talk about this MOU that just got described to you. What happened here is that the MOU was entered into too rushed, because the residents would not agree to having it open until 1:30 or noon, and felt that HCC was not representing their interests. And there is no removal clause or termination clause from the MOU in order to back out and start over. There was also a change in leadership at HCC, and so to my mind, this MOU is null and void. And because there has been so much opposition, I did not approach the applicant like I normally do to try to get a new MOU because there had been a lot of opposition. The other piece is around the parking. We are still not clear, and it has to be up to the applicant to prove to the liquor board and also to the zoning board that that lot can actually be used for parking for this site, because it could be attached to the site, the lot next to it. So that's a zoning matter that we can get an opinion on. And they were denied a variance for parking as well. So it is going to have extraordinary parking pressure in the area as well. So those are the main points that I wanted to bring up, and certainly, you'll hear from the residents. But it is something that we're definitely worried about. Obviously, along Falls Road, more businesses are coming, which is fine. But we are seeing that, we want to make sure that there's, we're still dealing with parking pressure, and there's a lot of other factors here that we need to deal with. So in my mind, that MOU is null and void because, first of all, it was done based on the live entertainment and not this license, and also the change in leadership at HCC, in addition to the fact that residents, even after it was signed, still had opposition and was not part of that initial negotiating process. So we have never thought that was going to be something that we would adhere to. So I'll yield to the residents if that is okay with Mr. Chair, or happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners have any questions?
I have just a general question. I don't know. I'm trying to see if, I guess what I'm looking for is whether HCC and HVMA have submitted anything to request a reconsideration of this MOU. I take your point, and I also take the point that this was done in October of 2021, and the licensee has made several changes.
Correct.
It sounds like to
the concept and everything, exactly.
So I'm looking for something from those organizations that say, hey, we have some concerns. And I unfortunately just got a number of letters
That have been submitted from the residents.
I just received them, so I haven't reviewed them. So do you know?
That is an excellent question. I personally have not asked for those documents, but certainly can do that from the HCC side and HVMA. Normally, the way the protocol works there, because you know how this works, right, is that, the HCC does the negotiations if it's out of the avenue, and then the HVMA will follow suit. So we can certainly ask for. I actually didn't know that was an option that we can have with them. So
It's not, I don't know that it's an option, but it's just some sign
some
to
letter
me
that says, yeah.
we too have some concerns. I guess, Mr. Chairman, I'll wait. Curious.
Yeah, and I think also that we did not involve HCC because we also knew that the residents had been organizing, pretty hard around opposition. So didn't ask HCC to weigh in on this one. Certainly can do that if the hearing is going to be postponed for any reason, and then we can get the proper paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We often see, at least circumstances where you have MOUs signed between, community organizations with standing.
Correct.
And then you have residents that object. So we often see that kind of tension that exists. But in this case, at least for me, it would be some signal that we need to look at this MOU, which it's been agreed by the licensee to attach it to the underlying license. So I'm curious, just that's why I asked the question.
No, I appreciate that, and certainly we can, approach them again. But as you'll hear from the residents, they're going to be also presenting, further information. Then, you can see the opposition. But certainly we'll take that into consideration for next time.
Do you have any questions for the council?
I have no questions for the council member.
Okay.
Thank
Who
you.
else wants to testify? Step up, sir, please. State your name, please.
My name is Amir Khan. I own and operate K&S Associates, which is the immediate business to this on the other side of 40th Street.
How do you spell your last name, sir, please?
Kahn. I own several commercial properties there that are closest to what would be the proposed front door to his establishment, and a residential property which is 35 feet from the front door. The bedroom is 35 feet. Wayne is an awfully nice guy. He has a pretty good reputation at 13.5. I can't argue that. I don't want to disclaim that at all. However, I think two things are an issue to me and to the neighborhood. One is parking, and the parking lot that he's referring to in no way is going to fit 17 cars. In no way. I think there was some letter that actually went out and measured proper size parking spaces, and it fit something like 9 cars. And then there is, as Councilwoman Ramos said, there's a question of whether it's actually suitable or not because of some zoning issue long ago. There was valet parking there for a while for Wicked Sisters, which is down the street, and they were closed down. That was disapproved. So I'm not sure if Wayne's actually going to be able to park cars there or not. Parking at night is really tight. There are some metered spaces on Falls Road, but there's not a lot of parking space. I'm unfortunately one of the fools that bought some buildings years ago and tore them down, so I have parking. But I'm in the car business. I need the parking. I have a tenant who lives right there in the house. They're a couple, very nice couple. They're going to be 35 feet from the front door. The problem is, and as Councilwoman Ramos said, it's not a Falls Road address. Legally it is, but it's really on 40th Street. And the garages and the enclosed part is fine, and I proposed this, and the neighbors would have backed me with it. If the whole thing were enclosed, wouldn't have been a problem because they're concerned of the noise at night. Most of the space is not enclosed, and if you look at his renderings, there are, 25, 30 tables worth of seats anyway, not tables, but most of the seating is outdoor seating. And there's there are no windows, there's no doors, there's no enclosure that actually blocks that noise. So right now it's a 15 or so foot wide with no entranceway that cars drive through and no ceiling, no roof whatsoever. I think the most he plans on doing is putting a tarp up or some kind of cloth roof. So that's really my concern, is the noise for the neighborhood and parking.
Okay, thank you. Do you have questions for
Very
this gentleman?
briefly, Mr. Khan, are you familiar with the MOU that was executed in October
Yes, and
2021?
as far as I know, the Hamden Community Council rescinded their
Okay, but
approval
that's
of
not
that.
what I asked.
Okay.
Are you aware of the contents of the document?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware in that document, the licensee had agreed to lease the spot at 4013 Falls Road for parking?
Again, I'm aware that that was discussed, but I'm also aware that there is no zoning approval to do that.
There's no zoning approval
Sir,
for him to
sir,
park at
sir,
40.
everybody needs to talk into the microphone.
Sorry.
So you're saying that's not zoned as a parking lot, sir?
It's an accessory parking, and I'm not an expert, I'm not an attorney, but I do know that Wicked Sisters used it, rented it for a while several years ago, and they were shut down from parking there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, did you want to testify, ma'am?
Sure.
Your name, please.
Hi, my name is Julie Smith, and I live at 4008 Hickory, which would be around the corner from this property. And I am representing the neighborhood. I was the one that, I don't know, I emailed in a petition of signatures of people that do not want the liquor license transfer. My understanding was that if we got over 50% of the signatures within a 200-foot radius of the property, that you guys would consider not transferring it. And this is the circle is the 200-foot radius. Everything in blue are the signatures that I've gotten. And I honestly would have gotten more if people had actually opened the door when I knocked on it, which I don't blame them because I don't like to open the door at night when people knock on it. I would like to submit these signatures if I can.
I'll object, I haven't seen these.
Well,
yet.
please show them to
And
Mr. Fogel.
I checked the file on Tuesday, and this wasn't here.
Well, I emailed it in last week.
Okay. All right, I'm going to.
Go ahead while he's looking at that, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, I'll reiterate what they said. That parking lot is not a parking lot. It used to have a house on it, so it might be attached to the property next door as residential. Nobody's ever been able to figure that out. The neighbors are concerned about noise, given especially the outdoor nature. If you look at his plans, there's an outdoor bar, there's outdoor seating. Everything in the neighborhood is loud as it is. There's going to be parking, people walking through the neighborhood trying to get there. I mean, they're not going to look for parking in other places. They're just going to park in front of our houses to go there. Trash, everything that a bar can attract. I mean, the neighbors have been very adamant that they don't want this. We were able to shut down the karaoke zoning thing twice because the zoning board said they realized it would be detrimental to the neighborhood to have this there. So I feel like a bar is going to be just as detrimental. And they also said that even so it's zoned C, I forget the number, for business, they said it did not meet the Schultz standard for that without disrupting a neighborhood. So rather than, keep reiterating the same points, the neighbors really are adamant about not having this there.
The zoning board did authorize it.
The,
I mean, they didn't authorize the karaoke, but they authorized the,
no, I understand that. They can certainly open a restaurant there. We're just trying to stop the liquor license transfer. The zoning board recognized that a karaoke bar I can't, I'm sorry.
that's not an issue before us. 'Cause
Sorry.
They didn't approve it, so
Yeah.
we can't.
Twice.
Yes.
Right. So,
Did you have questions for Ms. Smith?
Yes, I do. Ma'am, you say you're the leader of the neighborhood,
I wouldn't say I'm the leader, but I kind of took it upon myself to get the signatures, yes.
but you're not the president of the Hamden Community Council?
No, I'm not. Mm-mm.
Okay. And you say you sent this to the liquor board last week?
I emailed it, yes.
Okay. I'm going to object to the admission of this document on a couple of grounds, Your Honor. First being that this was not in the file as of the 48-hour deadline.
I can look on my phone to tell you when exactly I sent it.
Actually,
and-
I can find out from Ms. Russell.
Okay.
When did we receive it?
Let me look it up and see.
She'll get you the specific date, but my recollection is that it was timely, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
It was simply not in the physical file as of Tuesday.
But we had it
It's
in
not
time.
made
though.
available to us. Second, she's making a pretty bold argument. She has over 50% of the residents within a 200-foot radius. In a 200-foot rule case, the liquor board comes out and does the measurement. We don't let Google Maps or anybody decide what point they start measuring from. So I would object to this document being used as for any kind of definitive or determinative basis as to how many feet each person lives from this proposed establishment.
So I'm confused a bit because I don't live far from there, but I don't live there. So the people that you were speaking about, they're not members of the community association?
No, they're just residents that live surrounding the property.
So they have no input into what the Hamden Community Council does?
Not to my not to my knowledge.
Okay. So they're in opposition?
Chair, can I respond? Thank you. It's entirely possible that some of the residents are members of HCC. However, again, given the massive opposition to this, didn't feel like we needed to, add HCC. And I am now realizing that they are the ones with standing, even though the neighbors right across the street also have standing. That is where, we have the residents here that are upset about it as well.
You characterize it as massive opposition, and I don't know how many people belong to this organization who support it, so I don't know how to measure it.
Well,
isn't this the primary community organization in the neighborhood?
It is.
I mean,
but what we're saying is that because the neighbors around the...
I understand. They have a different view because they're right on top of it.
Correct.
Do you have a lease, Mr. Lang, with this parking lot?
Can you step towards the microphone?
Oh, sorry. I do.
You do? And
Yeah.
since when?
It was the same landlord owns the garages, so he's just appended that to the lease that I'm able to rent the lot.
And when you represented to the community association that there'd be approximately 17 spots, what was the basis for that?
The 17 spots was the 2,000 square feet that's available. In addition to that, I have agreement a block north of there with a mechanic shop that's not open on the weekends, and he's agreed that he has about 20 spots there that I can utilize on Fridays and Saturdays, which are our busiest days.
And the other thing I had a question about, so Mr. Khan said that it's not enclosed, and it's pretty cold right now. What are you going to do during?
That's obviously incorrect, sir. It's only outdoor seating that's not enclosed. Everything, the 1,900 square feet that I'm speaking of, is all enclosed. The outdoor seating is not enclosed, of course, because it's outdoor
And
seating.
when will that be in operation? Just during the summer months and nice weather as opposed to?
Exactly.
So maybe half the year?
In Baltimore these days, I
Who
would say
knows?
yes. Yeah.
We're not Buffalo.
And if I could just, there's a couple other points he'd like to make since he's
all right.
Mike right now.
And I have to say something
Sure.
about the parking lot.
Absolutely. And speaking of that parking lot, Mr. Lang, Wicked Sisters did not lose the use of that parking lot per se, did they?
I think it's because they had valet parking.
Right, they were not permitted to have valet parking, but that is a zoned parking lot, isn't that a fact?
It's a parking lot, yes.
Right.
And
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I can supply to the board emails with the former director of the zoning board about their investigation on the lot, and that there's still, it's up to the applicant to figure out and give us evidence that that lot is not attached to the house next door. And we have not seen that yet.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about when you say it's up to him. Under what standard?
Again, it's the zoning board, the zoning administrator.
But that's their issue.
Director, BMZA.
They run their own organization.
Right.
We don't run that.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then I think Ms. Smith wanted to add.
Yes. Another point is, in keeping with the other establishments in the neighborhood that are restaurants and bars, if you look up and down Falls Road, Wicked Sisters closes 10 o'clock. Nepenthe Brewery
You also
closes.
understand, ma'am, that the closing time is set out in the statute. We don't have any control over that unless you
Okay.
reach a memorandum of understanding with them. So-
Well, the memorandum of understanding, that changed so many times as we were trying to negotiate with him. In fact, the plans that you have were the original ones that he had submitted. But if you look at it, there's a theater and a stage in the outside area, and that had been eliminated as we worked forward with trying to negotiate with him. If he doesn't have live entertainment, then certainly he can't have a theater and a stage.
But I might have suggested to Mr. Lang that he get back together with the organization and talk more about these terms, but you all opposed the community organization.
Well, we
so
had negotiated with him with times and with the, the plans and all that, and then when it came to the zoning board, he just went with what he originally had wanted. He didn't go with anything that we had negotiated about, so we were all
I'm talking
kind
about
of
here.
shocked.
So what's before us is an MOU with an organization that's not represented here today, and people who disagree with it. So I don't know who he's supposed to negotiate with.
So can I just add that Mr. Lang did not approach the community or us at all in preparation for this.
Who are us? That's what.
My office, at all, or.
We don't send our licensees to talk to the council people.
Well, that's fine, but, it's, sometimes they do come and talk with us as
we don't have any
a-
objection to it.
No, but at least, in preparation for this, at least to give it another try to negotiate, and they didn't approach HCC either in preparation for this.
Okay.
Your Honor, can we be heard on this? First of all, there's no legal or common sense basis that there's a leadership change at an organization that a contract is
understand the law.
abrogated.
I understand the law.
All right, and in fact, Mr. Lang has reached out, and he'll be happy to describe that to you.
All right, let's go, because we got to move on. We got another case. Go ahead.
Mr. Lang?
I just want to say that's incorrect, sir. I've negotiated, after signing the MOU, I have actually tried to negotiate with them, and we came close. We went back and forth. They wanted me to close at 9 p.m. I opened at 5, and they wanted me to, in order for them to approve the karaoke, I can provide documentation showing this. They amended it, so they wanted me to close at 9 p.m.
When you say they, I don't know who you're talking about.
The former president was...
This organization.
Correct.
But they signed off.
He signed off on it, and then they wanted to renegotiate, and I tried to renegotiate with them, and we were at an impasse. So I had no choice but to default to this. As far as meeting with them, I've gone beyond to try to meet with them. I met with them on the site. I met with this gentleman a number of times. I just don't understand. What else can I do? I followed the protocol. I went.
You're right. And, Your Honor, this is, MOUs are important to this board and to the city. And to require somebody to renegotiate an MOU, or if the community leaders find out that maybe they made a decision or signed off on an agreement that not everyone likes and needs you to renegotiate, it would really destroy the integrity of these MOUs and would allow for no reliance
But they're
thereon.
always subject to renegotiation if the parties are willing. But
Right.
It's a different issue.
And I was willing.
Okay, so
Mr. Chair, I just want to say that I don't have any knowledge, and I have talked with HCC a lot, that in preparation for this hearing, they were not, they didn't approach HCC. The zoning, that happened before, and we know that there was a lot of discussion. But in preparation for this hearing, there was no approach to the organization.
Well, would you be willing, if we got Mr. Ockheimer involved, to take one more shot? We're going to have our liaison person try to facilitate it.
Your Honor, I've already indicated that my client is willing to put the hours of operation on as a license restriction, the parking requirement as a license restriction. He's willing to honor his obligations regardless of how certain neighbors who live in Hamden feel about those obligations. I'd be happy to meet again, but I believe he's made a prima facie case for a commercially zoned BD7 license transfer.
I'm not arguing that we're not going to decide it today, but this MOU, for example.
But he will definitely sit
It's
down.
focused in large part on circumstances that have changed.
Yes.
So it would be good to clean it up, I think, and get a new document that covers the relevant issues, and they take their last shot at reaching an agreement on it. But we'll go ahead and rule. I just want to see if we can do that, if we can get agreement to do that.
we'll be happy to start that process over.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Mr. Ockheimer to meet with you before you leave here today and talk with you about that, okay? All right, commissioners have questions?
No questions.
None.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's not an easy case because there's a lot of, well, you're not all in agreement, so it's not an easy case, but it's one that's before us for decision. So we're going to decide. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, the proffers from counsel, testimony received, and all the documents received, I vote to approve the application to transfer location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, liquor license presently located at 1117 to 19 West 36th Street to 4001 Falls Road, rear unit, requesting outdoor table service and off-premises catering, subject to the terms of a memorandum of understanding between the applicant and the Hamden Community Council, Hamden Village Merchants Association, which the parties have agreed they will attempt to renegotiate and make it more accurate as to the actual use of the property that's going to go forward, because this in large measure was aimed at the karaoke issue and other issues that aren't relevant any further. So that's my vote. Council, commissioners.
Question before I vote. Are we going to make the MOU part of our decision?
Yeah, I think, in my judgment, this one will be, but I'd like to see it amended.
If possible.
Yes.
Based on the application filed, testimony given here today, proffered by the attorney, all documents submitted, I also approve the application to transfer location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 1117 to 19 West 36th Street to 4001 Falls Road, rear unit requesting outdoor table service and off-premise catering. And I also vote that the MOU be part of this decision.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I have a question. Am I allowed to ask while you're...
We'll let him roll, and then we'll do it. Okay.
Based upon the application, the testimony, the proffer, the documents received, I look at this matter and we have to look at the character of the licensee as well as a number of factors associated with this. And I am not going to approve the transfer of location. I know I'm in the minority. I'm hopeful that the parties can come to an agreement. The reasons for my denial is I don't know that there's a public need and desire based upon the opposition before us, but also because the terms, as was mentioned earlier, in the MOU are based on a different situation, a different concept presented by the applicant, and it's over a year old. Not that that is a particular factor that it's dated, but that concerns me. It would have been helpful, candidly, as I mentioned to the councilwoman, if we had some indication from either or both of those organizations that they had issues with it. But I do think because the concept changed, it should have been renegotiated, or at least some indication from the organizations. Nonetheless, I don't think this would have an impact on other existing license holders. We didn't hear from Red Fish, so that to me falls in the favor of the licensee. The potential effect on existing license holders, again, I don't see that having an impact and would favor the licensee. I do think this is a unique concept, and I'm disappointed that, frankly, that there's opposition. I think it's an interesting investment in the community, and but I do think there's some concerns with kind of some parking issues that should be looked at and reconsidered in light of this MOU, which I think is a problem. So for those reasons, I'll wrap it up. I would deny it and hope that the parties could come together with an updated MOU.
Okay, before you speak, Ms. Russell, would you call the exhibits, please?
Sure. Applicant Exhibit 1, capital investment. 2, alcohol burner certification. 3, MOU. 4, rendering site plan. Community 1, 18 letters of opposition. Community 2, petition of opposition.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilwoman, go ahead.
My question, Mr. Chair, is your approval based on, is it subject to agreement with the community, or is it?
If you all can't reach a new agreement, this will stand. But I think it makes sense to try to make this updated and more relevant. So that's why I asked Mr. Alcomer to get involved with you.
Okay.
Okay. And we will substitute it if you do that. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor, and we will meet in the hall.
Okay.
We'll be happy to meet in the hall with the council member and
Okay.
get together. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council is receiving instructions from the agency on how to legally complete the transfer of location of this existing license that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. To the final matter, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Item number 6 on the regular docket, BDU Nepal LLC, trading as Bristol Liquors. This is an existing Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and a request to expand the existing license premises to include 505 and 507 South Broadway.
Abraham Hurdle, on behalf of BDU Nepal, Bristol Liquors. My client and the licensee, Mr. Dhruba Anta, is here. I also have with him is his son, Abish Anta, who is, while not a licensee or member of the business, probably going to be testifying. I do have probably 3 or 4 witnesses. Everyone else I would proffer would say more or less the same testimony. I do have some exhibits as well.
Okay, let's, those are going to testify. Come up and raise your hands, please.
If anyone intends to testify on this matter, please come up and follow the chairman's instructions.
Good morning. My name is Peter Bodie. I'm a member of the board of directors of the Fells Point Residents Association. I'm also representing to speak this morning the Upper Fells Improvement Organization.
If you will both raise your right hands, please, over here too.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I apologize, Chairman. I have a couple other witnesses who will be testifying. Do you want to swear them now or when they come up?
Let's see if we need them, okay?
And just a reminder, anyone who is testifying, please move to the microphone and please state your name and for whatever the court reporter needs at that point in time.
Okay, Mr. Hurdle, what's going on?
This is an expansion of the existing location at 501 South Broadway. I think in the application, you guys have a detailed floor plan. If not, I have a copy of that floor plan as well as a couple of elevations at the front in terms of how, I wish it was color, unfortunately they're not. I do have a copy.
Closer to the microphone, Mr. Hurdle.
Excuse me?
Closer to the microphone.
Thank you. The current location at 501-503 has been there for about, I think, I want to say 6 or 7 years. It was previously located at 507, one of the locations we are expanding into. The landlord of the corner location, 501-503, has purchased the adjacent lots and had offered them to Mr. Dhruba, who had had continuing interest from community members, indicating they wanted to see a wider selection and more seating. His tavern, unlike some taverns in the city that do a lot of packaged goods, does not have a big bulletproof cage area with a bar in the back that is often distinctly unused. In this situation, there is a bar that runs about the full length of the property, and merchandise surrounds everything, as well as there being liquor behind the counter. My understanding, and I will ask the licensee's son to testify to some of this, if that's okay at this time.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Abish, and you have the spelling, sir? Name and address, please.
My name is Abish Anta, A-B-I-S-H. Last name Anta, O-N-T-A. And I live in 509 South Chester Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21231.
Mr. Abish, you help your father with the location on a regular basis. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it anticipated that you...
Close to the mic.
Correct.
You've been a part of this process in terms of the expansion since we discussed it initially about 1.5 years ago. Is that right?
Correct.
You've led the charge in terms of working with the community. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I've also worked with Nate
Preddle?
Nate Preddle to try to understand the process and to help my dad with any language barriers or culture barriers.
How many community meetings would you say you've been to since this process started?
There was I think 4 or 5 of the monthly ones, and then we've also had additional ones outside of those monthly meetings.
Would it be fair to say 6 or 7 at least?
Somewhere around that.
And that includes some that are they all online or some in person?
They were all I attended them all online.
Okay. The reason for the expansion, can you go into that? Why are you guys looking to expand?
Well, from our discussions with our customers, they would often ask us maybe regional specific wines, and we have a small selection of say Spanish wines or some Bordeaux. They were asking about expansions or even vegan wines or kosher wines. And given the space that we have, we can't offer all of those offerings without a larger space to be able to one, make it even visible for customers to see it, to be able to purchase it, or even creating dedicated spaces to house all the different variations of wines and even when people come in for bourbons or for gifts and stuff, they want certain bottles, but we don't have the capacity to, because I think there's a limited amount of liquor available to the state, and so.
And you have limited seating under the current situation as well, correct? Right now, you have inventory stacked on shelves effectively to the 12-foot ceiling.
Yes.
All around. Is that
Yes.
accurate? And
Correct.
this expansion would allow you to, again, offer a bigger selection. Your current selection is how many offerings based on your count?
Oh, how
Was
many?
it 1,000 when we last counted?
Yeah, well, for wines, yeah.
So you probably offer 1,500 different options in terms of beers,
Beers,
wines,
wines,
crafts, things of that nature.
Correct.
As part of the expansion, one of the things you've been in discussion with local breweries and wineries is to have weekly tastings and have a more local focus. Is that correct?
Yes, we also, another thing is having the space for more local products to add to our selection.
And there's been a discussion about adding a fine foods area, but right now the concern is just how that's going to work, and you've been in talks with some other local businesses to help you with that process.
Correct.
Over the last few weeks, you guys collected signatures from community members, correct?
From our customers.
And I think the count you told me was 715. Is that accurate?
Around 715, yeah.
Are they all here?
The 715 people?
Yeah, it seems like.
Not all of them, but we could certainly make a couple calls, I think.
Sorry.
So I do have those signatures to proffer to the board.
Yeah, they'll be received.
And I believe there's a letter from a patron as well. I have not actually read this letter. I do hope it is good.
If you're a good lawyer, you'll read it before you give it to me.
I'm comfortable. And I received an email from Delegate Bhandari about 2 hours ago. I know it is not timely, and I would prefer that it was printed. I'm certainly happy to read it or forward it to Stacy. Delegate Bhandari has indicated his support and that he's known Mr. Drew. I'll read it. I think that's probably the best way to proffer that letter, if you guys are comfortable with that.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Dear Commissioners, our office is reaching out today's hearing for Bristol Liquors and Druba Anta. Delegate Dr. Bhandari has known Mr. Anta for over 16 years and remembers testifying at his first liquor board hearing some time ago. Since then, he has known Mr. Anta to be a great Marylander and run a good business. Based on his observations, he will operate within the bounds of any laws and rules of the liquor board, and his expansion, which will include a $500,000 investment, will benefit the surrounding area and local economy. And it's worth noting that the location he's expanding his business into has been vacant for a long time. Please do not hesitate to follow up with any questions or concerns, and I will forward that letter to Ms. Russell.
And is there an MOU here?
There is a current MOU. This location/license has been kind of fraught with issues over the years. When the BD7 replaced the A at 507, there was significant community resistance that was overcome. When they transferred the location from 507 to 501, there is an MOU or was an MOU. I don't think it was part of that time when they were made part of the license, but it certainly does exist.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, this MOU is part of the license file and
And it's
has,
from about 2015 or 16, right?
yes, at the time of the transfer, as the council just proffered.
Okay. Okay. Did you have anything further?
Just to say that Mr. Anta has been a good operator.
He has no violations.
Well, I do want to correct that, just to be clear. That's not necessarily accurate. The BD7 has received no violations. Mr. Harvey, I think, was around for a violation of an overcrowding on Halloween when it was an A license in 2000, late 13, I would say, if I had to go back. But Mr. Anta has learned his lesson. He's done a really good job. 505 South Broadway has been vacant for 4 or 5 years, and 507 has been vacant since they moved. These are 2 vacant spots that will see $500,000 in development, making the neighborhood a better place. This is an expansion of an existing location.
So all these folks over here are in support, right?
Absolutely. Everyone over here is in support. I do have a representative from the landlord who would like to testify, and I do have a fellow business owner in the neighborhood who would like to testify as well. if I agree.
Let me see if we need that, okay? And what is your position, sir? Come on up.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Peter Bodie. I'm on the Fells Point Residents Association Board of Directors. And I'm the former
B-R-O-D-Y?
president. B-O-D-D-E.
B-O-D-D-E, okay, I'm sorry. Bodie, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I'm representing both FPRA and the Upper Fells Point Improvement Organization, who have come out in opposition to the expansion. We've been working with the owner since early this year. What we've been seeking in this is an MOU, which would explain exactly what they're doing. We've tried on numerous occasions to get this MOU through. That would meet our mutual agreement and have been unsuccessful. At one point, our councilman...
Different from the existing MOU?
This is different from the existing MOU.
Have you read the existing MOU?
The existing one, have I read the existing one? No, because it's for the existing property, not for the expanded property. And sir, the way this change was explained to us is that they were trying to upgrade the facility, the store, turn it into more of a wine and cheese shop, and that there'd be different provisions in that as it did. And that's what, when we initially heard that, we said, well, it'd be an possible improvement to the community. We're interested, but we'd like to do a new MOU, and that's what we're interested in. We've been trying to get a new MOU for the new expanded facility.
The reason I asked the question is if the terms are the same, why do you need a new one? I don't know. Has anybody looked at the old one?
Well, we know what we're concerned about primarily is hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we were also looking at
What are the hours in the old one?
As I understand the hours, they're the maximum hours you can have.
So they're statutory.
In the morning,
Pardon?
they lost, I think, an hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning, and they were allowed to be open until 2 a.m. The licensee suffered significant economic disability because of that morning cutoff, but that was a sacrifice that we made at that time.
All right, okay. And what were you seeking?
We're seeking to the evening to have it close earlier.
What time?
Because of problems we've had in Fells Point over the past year.
What time were you seeking?
Probably midnight on weekends,
The MOU
lower.
is 11, to be clear.
The one they proposed?
Correct,
11.
not midnight, 11.
More in line with other wine and cheese shops that we've seen around the area. There was also concerns about the type of things they would stock. But what we found is, as you know, Fells Point underwent a lot of issues in the past year with alcohol abuse, people coming in from out of the area, purchasing things. And we're concerned about what would be stocked in the future, what would be sold, the nature of it. And we wanted to work with the owners to see if they could change the type of things they were stocking. There was some discussion about that, but it never went forward. My point being simply, as we worked with the MOU, there was no progress made. Our councilman interceded, tried to get us all together. We finally got an MOU from a revised MOU, but didn't include any of the things we wanted changed. And now we're at this point. We are not opposed out of hand of the change and expansion, but we wanted to be sure that whatever was done would actually enhance the quality of life in the neighborhood and not just be expanding the existing operations and providing more stock.
Okay. And we do have a letter from Councilman Cohen in opposition.
That's correct. He provided that too.
All those
It's
things
from
will be
2
received.
community associations and Councilman Cohen. Please.
Sure.
Your name, please, ma'am?
Sure. My name is Maggie Master. I'm here today on behalf of Councilmember Cohen. I represent him as his chief of staff. And just wanted to reiterate, I think that the community leaders that Peter mentioned have collaborated on a request for an MOU with Bristol Liquors for some time. The associations have offered their support for the expansion in exchange for the operator agreeing to limit their hours and to provide basic evening security as well as additional waste mitigation measures. The community was hopeful that the new storefronts would expand the business concept to include higher-end offerings and grocery elements such as meat and cheeses. The plan currently presented simply feels like the store is expanding their current operations and is not shifting to a wine source or Canton Crossing liquor model as it was presented to the community when the request was initially made. The counteroffer MOU presented to the community by the attorney representing the operators does not include adjustments to late-night hours of operation and does not account for the ample feedback provided by the surrounding community associations. And so for that reason, we are in opposition of this expansion.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, you've exchanged proposed MOUs?
Absolutely. We've spent significant time discussing this matter. One of the big delays in this matter was the community was demanding a business plan for months. And then at one point, they asked us to provide financials to indicate that the client had the financial wherewithal to do the expansion. All things that are wildly outside the normal scope and, I would argue, unreasonable in these circumstances. We asked them what a business plan model would look like so we could make sure we didn't have to go back and forth. They refused in that circumstance. We provided something. With regards to expanded security, my client is happy to agree to expanded security, expanded cameras, all of those things. One of the concerns that we've had from the beginning is with regards to these fine foods. We're happy to stock a fine foods counter, but if no one buys it, we're not going to continue to buy $4,000 worth of fine cheeses every single month for the next 10 years. That was one of our big concerns.
Why can't you put a proposal in there that does it on a probationary basis? So
We would be happy to.
See if it's economically feasible.
Absolutely happy to. But the other issue here is that because we want to make it a nice expansion, they want to cut our hours down to other nice locations. So I guess if we want to make it a not-so-nice expansion, they won't have an objection to the hours, is my understanding.
Well,
we can't cut the hours down. That's an issue.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
I heard someone put out the time 11 o'clock and someone say 12.
That was both the community.
The community both said 11 and 12.
The MOU that they proposed was 11. Today, they testified to 12. Our MOU said 2, which is what the old one did.
Okay, so the time, 2 o'clock, you're not willing to negotiate? Okay.
There's too much competition in the area from other locations. Statutorily, we're allowed to be open till 2. We're already restricting the morning hours. This is a nice location. He's an operator with significant experience. Zoning has approved this expansion as was required. That was part of the 12 months that we've been working on this. That was expanded, I think, in, I want to say September they approved that, maybe a little bit before then. It was a long process, though.
Well, Mr. Bode, you understand that we don't control the hours. They're set by statute. So if you can't reach an agreement, there's nothing we can do about them. So are you all willing to go back and try to continue to negotiate with them on the other issues?
Yes, of course we are.
Okay.
But I have to say, every time we've waited a long time for a draft MOU. My concern is it just gets extended out, and what we see is a request to appear before you before we have a signed MOU, and I don't think we should be coming back to you before we have an agreed-upon MOU.
Yeah, well, I don't want to overwhelm Mr. Ockheimer, but it sounds like you could use some help. So I'm going to ask him to get involved with this one as well.
Would welcome that, sir.
Okay. Commissioners have anything further?
No.
Anything else, Mr. Hurl? Can we go ahead?
Yes, you can.
All right. Thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, the proffer from council, and the testimony received, I vote to approve the request to expand the licensed premises to include 505 and 507 South Broadway from the existing location at 501 South Broadway. And I'm going to recommend that the licensee and the community get together and try to work out an MOU with respect to whatever issues they can reach agreement on. And I suggest that on these issues like what you stock in your store, that you give some creative thought to a 30 or 60, 90-day period to experiment and see if it can be economically feasible for the licensee. And they have to understand that if he can't afford to do it, we'll have to see what happens, okay?
If I may just very briefly, my clients are always willing to stock what people would like to buy without any question or exception under any circumstance, absolutely.
And Mr. Chair, may I just ask a point of clarification? Your ruling does nothing to impact the existing MOU that's already part of the
Well,
license?
nobody seems to have read it, so I don't know what it says. So if you look at that and it covers some of this, you may not need to spend as much time renegotiating. But I recommend that you do that. You're willing to have the existing MOU be part of your license going forward?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, as I said before, I vote to approve this expansion from 501 South Broadway to 505 and 507. The existing MOU will remain in effect and be a part of the license to the extent it's enforceable by law, and I strongly recommend that the parties get together and try to work out a new one that covers the new concept. Commissioners?
Based on the application file, statement made here today, documents received, I also approve the request to expand the license premises to include 505 and 507 South Broadway. Also, the current license remains in effect. And I also encourage you, both of you, to get together and talk with a willing heart, because you can't have your way when you have an MOU.
It's hard to follow, Commissioner Jones. Based on the application and the testimony and the exhibits received, I would approve this request to expand licensed premises to include 505 and 507 South Broadway for lots of reasons. I think there's a public need and desire. The testimony was such that there's demand. I think there's clearly there's an expansion, an interest in expanding the offerings, and this has been a good licensee and is open to expanding security. I think that the existing licensee, assuming someone has read it, is attached to the license to the extent it's enforceable by law, and would concur with my colleagues that both sides try and sit down in good faith and have a good discussion with the assistance of our liaison.
Yes, and thank you, Matt, for all your work with our contentious litigants. Ms. Russell?
Like to exhibits for the record. F, Exhibit 1, floor plan. 2, petition of support. 3, letter of support from community member. Exhibits in opposition. 1, letter of opposition from Councilman Z. Cohen. 2, email opposition from Upper Fells Point Improvement Association. 3, letter in opposition from Fells Point Resident Association and Upper Fells Point Improvement Association. And 4, 3 letters of opposition from community.
And did you get this as well, Ms. Russell?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Good luck, gentlemen. I hope you all can work this out.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council can contact staff from the office on how to obtain the updated license, expanded premises that the board approved today. Mr. Chairman, that concludes all matters on today's docket.
Yeah, let's adjourn then, okay?
Okay. Then the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City shall stand in recess until Thursday, December the 15th, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. here in room 215 City Hall.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And